There is no longer a clear division between what is foreign and what is domestic. The world economy, the world environment, the world AIDS crisis, the world arms race, they affect us all. Today, as an old order passes, the new world is more free.
Welcome everybody to Outside the Box News and Views. I'm your host, Jim Pacilio. My special guest today is Mickey Paletta.
Hi Jim, it's a
Thanks,
pleasure
Mickey,
being
for
here.
joining us.
Yeah, thank you for asking me.
Could you give us a little bit on your background and what you do?
Well, I used to be involved in bands and years ago of the music business, but I switched that probably 18 years ago, where I started writing books on the Federal Reserve. I did my first book here in 1994, and this is my life, a passion now. This is what I do now 7 days a week, 16, 18 hours a day, and I believe that the very, very, very existence now of the United States, in which we love, is that great stake. And that you listen to George Bush and Obama, and they're always going to change something, but they always miss the thing here that actually that needs changed, Jim. That what it is that is most people have no idea what the Federal Reserve is. So I'm not putting you on the spot or anything like that. But what is the Federal Reserve?
Well, from my understanding, there's 12 regional banks that have their own directors, all headed up by one chairman. So in essence, we have one central bank that is running all of the banks within the United States. And we're not supposed to have a central bank according to our Constitution. Now,
so if that is the case, now let's go back and then look at the 185 clause of the Constitution of the United States. Doesn't it make it very clear that only Congress shall coin and regulate the value of money?
Yes, it does.
But what I don't understand then, that is, where did this Federal Reserve come from? Do you know how it started?
Well, I think it was hatched on Jekyll Island in 1910 with Senator Aldrich was one of the original backers, I believe.
Right.
And Harriman and J.P. Morgan and all the elite bankers and Rothschild and Rockefellers got together and created this plan for a Federal Reserve System to control our money supply.
Jim, I have to admit now, I've been all over the United States doing this, and I have to admit now that you are well versed in this. I'm very, very surprised, and I'm happy to know that you're not a beginner at this. And people, what we need is this, that we have to wake up now that the Federal Reserve is a private, profit-seeking, tax-exempt corporation that is literally owned and controlled by the bankers themselves for their own gain at our expense. That's your expense. That's your mother's expense. That's your kid's expense. Why? Look, because the American people have been sleeping. We've been sleeping too long. There's not much time left. So with the little bit of time that's left, that I think it's our duty that we have to awake and start teaching this door to door. It has to be done. Now let me ask you this, Jim. I go into people's homes and I do a lot of shows, and people always say, well, Mickey, you sound like that you understand things, but what proof do you have? See, people always want proof. Now, what we're going to do now that I have this list of proof here, this is not my information, that these sheets here are actually recorded by the Federal Reserve System themselves. This is not my words. This is their words. So why don't we understand what they're doing to us? Now, just what I just said now, that the Federal Reserve is a private, profit-seeking, tax-exempt corporation. It has nothing to do with the American government. It has nothing to do with us. So why do we allow, Jim, they're nothing but a bunch of crooks now. Why are they now causing our steel mills to close? Now, don't the people want to work? But what's missing, Jim?
There's no real money.
There's no money.
There's no money. It's all fiat currency.
And these bankers right now, that these guys are contracting the M1. That these guys have contracted now probably 75%. And without money, our manufacturing plants cannot exist.